Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode. This is episode 329 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. And today I sit down with Paul Frasco. Paul Frasco owns Pro and Local Detailing in Massachusetts. And we talk about something that I think is pretty important to not... The subject matter is important itself because I think it's going to spur ideas for you guys to market your business better. But I also, it was an exercise for me as well because we talk about more traditional marketing for your detailing business. And with stuff like the Detailer Inner Circle, we talk a lot about kind of more modern digital marketing. We still have a lot of traditional marketing in that as well. But Paul has been on the show a couple times and then reached out again and was like, hey, I'm doing this thing that's working really well. And that is Billboard. So he's doing a few Billboard in his area and it's working out really well. So he talks about kind of that story, that journey that he's on with more of a traditional marketing route. And I think it's very, very fascinating. And I really like to try to keep an open mind, especially in the digital age that we are. And then especially you guys listening to a podcast even is I think very, very cutting edge. Even though it's becoming a little bit more mainstream, I still feel that it's cutting edge. And so it's nice to, look at these other traditional outlets and ways to drum up business and get business as well, to kind of keep us all with an open mind, and see how things, that maybe we look down on even sometimes. Something like a billboard, like I even say in the podcast, is something that I wouldn't do. Or when I actually wouldn't think of doing it. How about that? And now after listening to Paul, I think I would actually be willing to try it out. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode with Paul Frasco and myself talking about more so traditional marketing. Here we go. One last thing, of course, JimboDaily.com is a site that I'm putting on all the products that I recommend. And you could even purchase them directly on there. I got some cool Jimbo hats with the logo that I had made up by actually one of Gary V's designers. And that's, if you're listening to this right away or in the future or whatever, that is going to be my home base for products that I recommend and sell. And actually I'm lining up another photo shoot coming up in the next couple weeks to add about 15 more items onto that site. So if you're listening to this in the future, hopefully it's fully loaded with a bunch of products. And if you're listening to it now, hey, why not go check it out? All right, here we go. All right, welcome to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Today I'm excited. We have another returning guest in Paul Frasco. Paul, before I forget, welcome back to the Auto Detailing Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jimbo.
And Paul, it's funny. I didn't tell you this before we started recording because every time I hit the record button, something else pops in my head that I want to talk about. But when you were out in California and we met up at In-N-Out, I don't know if you remember this, but we saw that guy at the pickup counter and he had like a weird backpack on and there was a dog in it. Do you remember that? I've seen that.
Yeah, I got a picture. I got a picture on my old phone. I'll have to find it. I'll send it to you or something.
I just thought about it, but the point is that I've seen that backpack marketed on Facebook. It's so funny. It's like
okay.
Yeah.
The dog was in it, right? It was like
the dog was in it.
Carrier backpack.
Yeah, and there was like a I don't even know how you would describe the like window tube thing to the backpack that was like, wait,
it
is there a dog
looked like an astronaut's helmet, right?
It looked like an astronaut's helmet. A bubble, exactly. Anyway, I don't know why I just thought of that. But so we've had plenty of interactions in person. You've been on the podcast before. We just talked over at when we were both in Florida for Mobile Tech. And then you hit me up last week or the week before, whenever. We've been bouncing around with my schedule trying to get this done. But I'm excited to talk about what we're going to talk about, and I'll kind of lead in with what we just talked about before we started recording, is that when, there's so many ways and questions that people have when it comes to marketing their business, right? And we have the Detailer Inner Circle, and that mainly focuses on not really just digital marketing, but like follow up and follow through and all that. But one thing that you really have working for you that kind of the whole basis of this conversation is going to be revolved around is you advertise on billboards. And when you initially told me that, I'll be honest, because my skew and lens is a little bit more towards digital marketing, but I think especially as more people go that way, I think like you say, no one does it, at least in your area, and every area may be different. And we can talk about that too. I want you to actually do some talking, not just me this whole time, but I want to kind of set it up. And that is, as more people go to digital marketing, it may open this window for more of a traditional marketing. So can you kind of give us the background of kind of what made you think of doing a billboard, and kind of where, how that got going?
So the reason I did it is, my business, even though I've been detailing for close to 10 years, the business, is a little newer. Like when the first few years I didn't have a business, I just did it on the side. So, in those
we
early
talked about
stages
that.
of,
sorry to interrupt, but
that's in the early stages of like growing the business, you have to, it's all trial and error, right? You gotta see what works in your area and for you,
100%, and
see what you're good at, see what actually gets you phone calls and gets you return on investment and all that. And then you got to see what doesn't. There's no way of knowing that unless you try it. So, we spent a lot of money last year on just branding and advertising, which are two different things. But I wanted the area to know I exist. I wanted people to learn my logo and be able to recognize it. And then have them think, when they think of cleaning their car, I don't want them to just think of the car wash or the big car wash / detail center. I want them to also, kind of think of me right away or even a secondary option. So that's where the billboards and radio ads come in, is kind of, what's the word? Maybe almost like brainwashing your area.
Yep.
Kind of like subconsciously.
And you do mobile, and I guess we should talk about what area of the country you're in or in the world, considering this is a global podcast. But have you hyper-focused in on a local area? Because you do mobile and have a shop, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have one shop location that I kind of share with a business. I work out of there like maybe once a week.
Right.
And then that's in Mass. And then in Connecticut, because I'm right on the border, in Connecticut, I have my own shop that I rent. It's just like an extra garage. I'm in the back of a car audio shop, and I rent that space out as like my main shop, and then I still do mobile. So we kind of do everything. Right.
And when you say Mass, you mean Massachusetts, just for anyone
who's
not local. So how spread out are your two shops then? Or how did you decide? I'm assuming they're not like super duper close down the block. So how
they're pretty close.
Okay.
They're like a 10-minute drive from each other. But
okay.
The point is, one's in Mass, one's in Connecticut, and I believe it or not, like a lot of detail customers, they don't want to travel more than, I think the average, like some people did research, I think the average is like 7 miles that people will travel.
Right.
Before they say no and look for someone closer.
Right.
So believe it or not, even though it's a 10-minute drive or even like an 8-minute drive from each shop, some people won't go to the Enfield location because it's too far. I don't know why.
And that's kind of a good, who cares why though, right? It's like, that's a good reason to, I like how you've kind of structured the deal. It's like, you don't have two shops that you're paying full rent on full time. It seems like both places you've kind of contracted a good deal to make it to where you can serve customers in both areas without having the complete overhead of a full shop in two separate areas. It's
just like a partial rent, partial rent. And they can contract me out to detail their own customers' cars. They're two different car audio shops. They do like window tinting and stuff like that. And So I do their customers, I do my own customers, I give them some money for rent, and it works out for everyone.
So where did you decide to place these billboards then?
So
yeah.
I'm still experimenting with it a little bit, but the main focus was, last year, like I said, with the trial and error. So we did a lot of different things last year. We didn't just do billboard and radio. I set up an advertisement in the local mall. And it was one of those, kiosk things in the middle of the hallway.
Yep.
So I didn't rent a store, but it was, it was like $800 a month.
Yep.
And I put on 2 TVs back to back on the top of the cart, and I had it play my commercials on loop. And then I had a bunch of brochures and business cards laid out and things like that. I had a little sign up sheet for an email list and stuff like that. And
weren't you also selling buckets?
A week.
Was that you that also set up a kiosk at a mall selling buckets of chemical and stuff for gifts during the holidays, or was that someone else?
You might be thinking of someone else. I did sell wash bucket kits, but I didn't sell them at the mall.
Okay. But did you set up a kiosk somewhere?
Not for that. I just sold those at car shows and to my customers.
Got it.
That got their car coated. They could
buy
a bucket kit and wash after. So, but yeah, I did like a kiosk in the mall. We did direct mail. I don't know if you have Valpak in your area.
Yep.
I think it's around the country, but
I think it is. I think we have it or something like it, a branch of it.
Or like Value Mail. Or,
yes.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
things like that where it's just a coupon book or whatever. And we just tried that out, but it depends on your type of business. If you have an express detail shop, a high volume, or if you have a specialty, like if you have a specialty paint correction and coating detail business, you shouldn't really be giving out coupons. It doesn't work like that. But I'm a good mix of both. I do some express details, some standard, interior and exterior details. And I also do paint correction and coatings. And we do mobile and shop. So we're just kind of well-rounded in that way.
Diversified. Yep.
But the only way to get reaction from the coupon books was to have a coupon. So I did some kind of deal. It was like, book a detail, get a free wash and wax. So they're getting something that doesn't cost me a lot, but we did one where it's just an advertisement. I got no response from it. But once I did a coupon, then I got phone calls from it, got some people in the door, and then I found out those customers never came back. They just wanted a deal. And we got our name.
How are you tracking it? Are you doing like a separate Google Voice number depending on what mailer you do, or how do you track? Or is it the coupon code itself? How do you track where the customers are coming from?
Well, I answer all the phone calls. It might be different if you have someone else that answers the calls, but I have a way of keeping, you can have an Excel sheet or a notebook or whatever, an app in your phone. And every phone call I get, I just got in the habit of it. I ask every customer how they heard of me, and I just keep a tally.
Got it.
I have like Google Ads, I have Facebook, Yelp, lawn signs, radio, TV, whatever, and I can just keep a tally, and I save it all so I can actually track it. So, I realized that the people with the coupons, it didn't work for my company, even though I do some express detailing. I just didn't. I'm not going to do the direct mail again unless I try a different approach.
And was that expensive to do that?
I got different companies have different deals. I got like 6 months worth for like $2,300 or something.
Okay.
And it got mailed out to like 150,000 homes. So I was like, all right, my goal this year is to get my name out there in the area to a lot of people and in multiple different avenues.
I think that's a good point.
That's the real.
I think that's a good point.
That's the real objective of advertising.
Yes, I think that's a great point. That it is. You got to see a return on your money, right? Like you can't spend $2,300 at a time forever, but you never know. There's not always a direct ROI either, right?
Yeah,
the brand visibility.
Do it once.
Exactly.
You can't just do it once and expect it to work.
Right. And that's what I like about this approach and kind of the whole theme that's developing here is that you're doing multiple things to really, I mean, I guess the marketing term would be your guerrilla marketing, right? You got the billboard, you got the mailers, you got the ads, you got this, you got that, you got the freaking, I think we talked about the bottled water that's branded, you got the floor mats or the hang tags, or like people can't go anywhere without, you can't go anywhere without seeing pro and local detailing or whatever.
Yeah.
I think you were.
Yeah. And that's what I'm starting to hear from customers. They're saying, oh, I see your logo everywhere. So it's starting to work. And plus I'm tracking the direct calls and stuff, but, so I might try direct mail again, but I might try a more creative approach. I just haven't thought of something yet.
I'll give you an approach.
Look at it as a waste of money.
You want to hear my opinion? You want to hear an idea that I thought was brilliant? I think a realtor did it, and I think I maybe even heard it from Pete. Is they stapled a $1 bill, a real $1 bill, to a flyer, and dropped it.
Oh,
in the
wow,
mail.
that'll catch the attention of other people.
That flyer's not, that flyer's not getting thrown away, or maybe some of them will, and maybe you're wasting money. But I think if you took $1,000 in ones, right, and even if you did it yourself and dropped 1,000 flyers with the $1 bill, people are going to remember that, and it's only $1.
Yeah. Or even if the flyer ends up on the ground, someone's going to run after it, like, oh, $1.
That's right. Just
and then
a little side idea.
So they have your business card or whatever.
Exactly.
That's kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't think I would do the direct mail with coupons ever again because of the way my business is. Like, we're more expensive than the other detail shops in the area. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, you can't walk into Tiffany jewelry store with a coupon. Like, they don't have them. They don't exist.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not going to do it again. I might just try a more creative approach, but I definitely think it was worth it because a lot of people called, but not a lot of them turned into customers that want to pay $300 for a standard full detail with no buffing and no engine and, just a steam clean. But that's, what I'm charging. But, but it was worth a try. I didn't know what would work. So you got to try it. And, over a couple of years, you'll narrow it down to what works for your business and how you do it.
So let's get into the billboards then. What do you put on the billboards? Do you make them pretty? Do you make them ugly? Is there like a big, like something that's really popping up in my area or has been? I don't know how well it's doing, and I think they have a really ugly looking billboard. But one thing I have learned from Pete is that sometimes ugly works and pretty doesn't. I like pretty. So anyway, but the Washe app or companies like it that are doing these mobile on-demand washes, they're popping up billboards, which I thought was interesting. They're doing more of a traditional marketing. I see their Facebook ads too, but anyway, but they have a question on their billboard, like car wash today ? So how do you? How'd you decide what to put on your billboard, and did you play around with a couple different variations until you got one that worked, or what are you doing on that?
So as far as like the getting more creative with it, with a question or a statement or a funny picture, I mean, that does stand out. Like ugly can stand out. Like, some people with the print ads, everything's color, everything's pretty, but if you just do a black and white, it actually stands out sometimes. Like the ugly billboard, it might stand out. The stupid commercial that has a dumbass jingle, or whatever. It just sounds ridiculous, and you hate it, but you don't forget it.
Right.
You remember it stands out, so it works. But the billboards, like in that way, it's almost like some of the people in the area already know about that wash app or that furniture company or that restaurant. So they're able to do that. I'm not at the step yet where I'm going to do more creative billboards. I started out just traditional, it's just a picture of me, my co-owner Chris, and our employee Nick, and we're just standing there. I think a picture of who you're doing business with is important. So I wanted to get it, more personal, and it's just literally a picture of us. It's kind of faded out in the background a little bit. And then it just says in bright red letters, auto detail. and then my phone number and the website underneath it. And then it's got, like the Better Business, Bureau logo, I think the IDA logo in the corner, and that's it. And it's just simple. But the trick to billboards is you want it to be able to be read in a couple seconds. I mean, people are driving.
Right.
But yeah, so that's why I did it simple like that. And I put my logo really bright in the corner because I'm trying to get people to recognize the logo and the name, but also maybe our faces and realize that it's auto detail. So you can see that logo, you're driving by, you see a couple guys and you see auto detail. You might have time to write down the phone number, take a picture, but the fact is all these people, thousands and thousands of people saw these billboards over the course of a couple months. And the weird thing about billboards, which got me scared at the beginning, was I wasn't getting direct phone calls from it. I only got a few. Like maybe 10 phone calls a month, 10, 15. I have it written down. I'd have to look it up, but I know it's
what does it
not
cost?
A lot.
So a billboard, how's the deal even structured? Is it month by month? Do you have to sign like the direct mailers, like a 6-month thing? Like, how does that work?
So the direct mailers were a contract of 6 months,
right,
with a discounted rate, even cheaper if you do a whole year.
Okay.
The kiosk in the mall was $800, and it was month by month, no contract. The billboards are, I guess it just depends on your area. I mean, a San Diego billboard's probably going to be really expensive. An area in Massachusetts near Springfield probably won't be too much, but it also depends on the roads and how much traffic it gets,
right,
the location of the billboard and the size of the billboard. So you'd really just have to call up the company and get quotes.
Okay.
You want to drive around and like kind of right down the street or the corner, the intersection where the billboard is, and kind of figure out where you want them. And a good place is maybe where the cars are stopped. So like at a traffic light, that's probably a really good place because you might get more people to actually call you instead of just seeing the billboard and slowly. It's like you're training these people to learn your logo and know that you exist. So that's why I didn't get a lot of phone calls, but you know what, why it worked, why I'm happy that I did it and why it's working now, a few months later, because I ask everyone how they heard of me. And this kind of ties all of the advertising together. Every person I ask that heard of me, they say, "Oh, I just Google searched detailing and you came up, you had great reviews. So I called you." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then they go ahead and tell me, "Oh, and I heard you on the radio and I saw your billboard, like every day on my way to work, so
right.
They didn't call me from the billboard or from the radio ad, but they
helped.
heard it.
Right.
It helped.
It was supplemental.
I had maybe five to 10 points of contact with this person. They saw my billboard 5 times, then they saw they heard the radio ad, then they Google searched detailing, and when I came up, they saw the logo and they remembered it. So, then all the other guys came up. They don't know who they are, but they're like, "Oh, let me call this company. They must be good. Their logos look clean." I saw the picture of them on the billboard. I know who I'm doing business with.
Right.
They must be good if they're on a billboard. So it worked that way. Not a direct return on investment, but more of a branding. Getting my brand out there in my local area.
Totally.
So yeah, I'm starting to see it work now, kind of like indirectly.
And that's what
literally almost every person that calls, they mention it.
Right, and that's you never know how someone is going to react with the marketing that you present them with. So, and everyone's different, and everyone filters through what they let absorb through their brain in different ways based on their life experiences and stuff like that. In fact, that's what I was. It'll be maybe a week. Yeah, it'll be exactly a week after the episode went live. But to us, yesterday, the episode went live about being certified, and all these people are commenting and putting their information or their thoughts and feelings and opinions. And one of this guy was like, "Oh, I misunderstood." And I'm like, "No, dude, I don't think you misunderstood. I think you just saw it through the lens of your life and your experiences." And that's kind of what I wanted in that podcast, right? Is just everyone's opinion. And that's when you look at marketing and stuff like that, you never know what's going to resonate with a person more. So like you said, you got to try a lot out. You got to see. And honestly, for detailing, I don't know about you, Paul, but my target demographic is a little bit older. So not a lot, and they're getting more, into the internet and seeing things online, and there still is a lot of that, but a lot of them are still older and resonate a little bit more with traditional marketing than maybe newer techniques.
Yeah. So you might get a lot of customers from, word of mouth and going to car shows or events and actually being there, sponsoring it, talking to people.
Exactly.
And, like a newspaper ad or something,
Yep.
you probably get more for that. But I don't think I got to finish saying about the billboard, the cost.
Right.
But, I think it depends on your area and the location of the billboard. So you have to get a quote. I think mine was and I got like a medium-sized billboard. It wasn't a tiny poster. It wasn't a giant billboard on the highway. It was kind of like the mid-range size. And it was kind of on not the major highways, but it wasn't on side roads either. It was in the areas that were still busy roads, different routes. And I think I paid $900 one month, $800 a different month in a different location, $1,000 for another month. So with the volume I was doing, I felt it was worth it,
right,
to try it out. You got to invest long term.
Exactly.
And like
Great
I said
point.
about to tie it all together with all these different types of advertising, what I did and how I think it worked well is I did it all at the same time. Like I saved up the first half of the year and put some money aside and then invested it all. And I did the mall advertisement, the direct mail, the radio ads, the billboards, all within the same time period, like the same quarter, 3-month period or 4-month period. So people, at one point, someone could have gotten in their car, turned on the radio, driving to work in the morning, and heard my radio ad, and then driven by my billboard on the way to work. So they saw me twice. And then, after work, they're stopping at the mall to grab some things that they need. They walk by my ad at the mall. And then they come home, they go to their mailbox, get their mail. They see my coupon there. And then they're watching TV at night and they see my TV, my ad on the TV.
You're everywhere.
So after seeing me 10 times, and then they go on Facebook, laying in bed at night, they're about to go to sleep. Then they scroll through Facebook, they see an ad there. And they're like, and then it sits in their head for a couple of days. And then they probably, spring comes around, they're like, oh, I need my car detailed. And then guess who they're going to call? They're going to remember me, or they're going to do a little research, but, they're going to call me.
Yep.
At least to get a quote. So
Totally.
It worked. It's still working. And I haven't done really any advertising this year except for Google and some Facebook stuff.
I guess that's a good way to kind of to wrap it up full circle too. Do you see an extended are you seeing it continue to work even without having the billboards or the kiosks or whatever? Are people, did they see it, they're holding on to it, and kind of, it's still trickling in and you're still seeing the results even after it being completed?
Yeah, so I'm still seeing it. I did the billboards and that whole marketing push July, August, September, October, and a little into November. And then I stopped, and then holidays were busy enough, and I haven't done anything really since then except for online, and, going to car shows and events. But I'm still seeing it from the billboards, the radio ads. I'm still getting a response, but, I noticed it. I think every month that goes by that you don't do it, it gets less and less. You got to be consistent with your advertising. But since I did such a big push in my small local area, it had a bigger impact, I think. But I know I'm going to have to do some more soon.
Got it.
So you don't want to just, and the reason I did it all at the same time is so it was more effective to people.
Right.
You don't want to just let me just try one radio ad, and then let me just do a Facebook ad the next month, and then let me do a radio ad 3 months from now. You can't do that. You're just going to waste your money. You might get a couple customers, but for it to have an impact on your local market, you got to be strategic about it, and you got to invest a little money.
Right. And you got to have the long-term the long-term vision for it. You know what I mean? Of
Yep.
you're in it for the long haul, so that
Yeah.
those bigger investments don't feel like such a hit, because you're in it for a long time. In fact, the car I did today.
Yeah, you got to make sure you can afford it too.
Well, yeah,
kind of work it into a plan. Don't just go into it blind either.
Have a plan. Yes, plans help. So, right on, Paul. All right. Well, if people want to follow you or want to kind of maybe dive deeper into a conversation with you about this, or they're maybe have thought about this, whatever the case may be, how can people follow you, contact you, and get more info from you?
You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook. It's Pro and Local Detailing. So Instagram, it's just Pro and Local, PROANDLOCAL. And if anyone has a question, they can email me at proandlocal@gmail.com or even give me a text. I don't really care. I'm easy to get a hold of. 413-883-0881.
Awesome, man. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're training a new guy today, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Head on over to autodetailingpodcast.com for full show notes and links of everything that we've talked about today. And don't forget to check out our resources page for a direct link to all the products talked about not only on today's episode, but that I use in my day-to-day detail business. They have direct links so you can purchase and get free shipping right from that page. That's autodetailingpodcast.com. We'll see you on the next episode.